Welcome back to KO with Kyle. I'm your host, Kyle. Today we forecast this upcoming weekend's August 15th fight between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic and all the other fights on the main card. I'll also give you my predictions at the end of the episode. Alright, now let's get into it. UFC 252 is an absolutely stacked card from front to back. From the headliner, which is a super fight between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, all the way down to the very first fight between Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba. Every fight on this card is stacked, ready to be fight of the night, and I'm very excited to break it down for you. So this one is for the baddest man on the planet, the heavyweight title. It's for the legacy of probably the greatest heavyweight that's ever done it. And we're really going to get to see probably a great final performance from Daniel Cormier. I'm not sure if it'll be Stipe's final performance, but it's going to be a great fight. I'm super excited about it. Let's start off by breaking off the opening fight on the card. That is between the number 14 ranked light heavyweight Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion the Hulk Cutelaba. And both these guys most recently fought each other, and that was a controversial stoppage in that fight. Cutelaba always rages forward in the beginning, coming out strong. Ankalaev landed a head kick. It kind of rocked him. He looked really wobbled on the feet. The ref thought he looked so wobbled that he couldn't continue. Ankalaev continued to throw a couple punches and head kicks to finish the fight, even though Cutelaba was not out. He was still wide awake on his feet and protested immediately after, and it was such a controversial ending that they're remaking it and throwing it back, which I'm excited to see. Both these guys are just big at light heavyweight, can do a lot of damage. They have exciting wins. Ankalaev has 2 performance of the night bonuses. He's coming off of the win against Cutelaba, even though they want it to be considered a no contest. I know Cutelaba would rather that loss be considered a no contest. But Magomed Ankalaev has a performance of the night. He's coming off of the TKO victory, and prior to that, a KO victory against Dalcha Lungiambula. And so I'd have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that fighter, but Ion Cutelaba, previous to this fight against Ankalaev, he had fought Khalil Roundtree Jr. and got a TKO victory over Roundtree. And prior to that, he had fought Glover Teixeira and came out really strong with a blitz, a flurry, and gave up his back and got submitted by Glover Teixeira in that one, so that was a loss for Cutelaba. So in his last 5 fights, he's 3 wins and 2 losses, even though he wants the one to be a no contest. Ankalaev in his last 5 fights is 4 wins and 1 loss, his only loss coming against Paul Craig by submission. So we'll see what happens on this one. I'm sure it's to be sparks flying, shots thrown. They're going to come right at each other right out of the gate. Cutelaba is known for his fast starts. Ankalaev was able to establish some distance and keep him away with the head kicks and daze him in the first fight, so we'll see if he relies on that again or how he approaches Cutelaba's early blitz. And there's lots of KOs and TKOs between these two guys. Almost every fight in their last 5 has been a KO or a TKO. And the head kicks were enough to finish him the first time. We'll see if he throws them again. So that's an exciting one. I'm leaning towards Ankalaev. He's 14-1 going into this. So let's see if he can get it done again. And could be fight of the night just right out of the gate. So you're always excited to see that. Moving on, it's a bantamweight bout between John Dotson and Merib the Machine Dvalishvili. And Dodson is the winner of Ultimate Fighter Season 14, the bantamweight season. He beat TJ Dillashaw in the final by a TKO. And Dodson was also the first TUF alumni to get offered a title fight against Demetrius Johnson at flyweight post season 5. So they had done a whole bunch of seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, and John Dodson was actually the only alumni to get a title shot. He lost in a unanimous decision against Demetrius Johnson, but it was still exciting that he got that fight. He has since moved up to bantamweight. He's had really tough customers in his last 5 fights. I mean, they're just huge names. He lost a split decision against Marlon Moraes. He won a split decision against Pedro Munoz. He lost a unanimous decision against Jimmy Rivera, and then lost a unanimous decision against Petr Yan. And then his most recent fight that he's coming off of is actually a TKO victory over Nathaniel Wood. So John Dodson has definitely fought the bigger names, the who's who in his division, and Dvalishvili, he's coming off of a 4-fight win streak himself. They're all by unanimous decision, but he is winning all these fights. His most recent one was against Gustavo Lopez. And before that, he fought Casey Kenny and Brad Katona and Terrion Ware, all by unanimous decision. And then his loss in his past 5 was actually against Ricky Simone, and it was a submission he lost by. So this fight, I'm not sure who to favor. I would say John Dodson has fought the bigger names. He's fought for titles. Dvalishvili is coming up. I'm not sure if he's fought this tough of a competition as Dodson. I think his camp has taken this fight pretty seriously. I would probably give a little bit of the edge to Dodson in this one. It's based on his explosiveness and his ability to win fights against big names and at least go the distance. So since both these guys go the distance a lot, I would say this fight is probably good on the over in rounds, over 2.5 rounds. So that would be my pick for this one. And moving on, there's a super exciting fight at heavyweight. It is between Junior Chigano dos Santos and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And these guys just have some of the most KOs you're going to find, TKOs, KOs in the heavyweight division. I would not expect this fight to go very long. These boys are both going to come out and bang. Jairzinho is coming off of a loss against Francis Ngannou, where they both just went to brawl at each other, and Ngannou just landed a couple huge shots and just ended it immediately. Dos Santos is coming off of a pair of losses himself. One was against Francis Ngannou. He got a TKO loss. And then most recently against Curtis Razor Blades, he got a TKO loss as well. So you don't want TKO losses going into a fight against Rozenstruik, who has been a bit of a KO artist in his UFC run. And his wins over Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, Alan Crowder, and Junior Albini. And it's 3 KOs and a TKO, so very exciting finishes. He didn't look the best against Overeem. He was losing essentially the entire fight and just won with a really good shot at the very end. So I'm not sure how that level of striking is going to pair up against a Dos Santos, who has just fought the who's who. I mean, almost in a previous era. He's still fighting, but in the previous era of heavyweights, he was a heavyweight champion himself. He defended the belt successfully once. Dos Santos has wins over 5 UFC heavyweight champs, and Fabricio Verdum, Frank Mir, Cain Velasquez, Shane Carwin, and Stipe Miocic. He's beat him as well. And Dos Santos has beat Derek Lewis before his set of 2 losses. He had got a TKO victory over Derek Lewis, so he's gone up against some KO artists in the heavyweight division, and he's handled them. So Dos Santos, just a super tough guy. A couple other previous fights in his top 5 were against Tai Tuivasa. Dos Santos got the TKO win against Blagoy Ivanov. He got the unanimous decision victory. So Dos Santos has probably spent more time fighting Cain Velasquez in the ring than Rosenstrike has ring time. Because, I mean, they went 3 times in title fights, and that just puts a lot of wear and tear on you. I know in fight years, Dos Santos has a lot. Rosenstrike would be the up-and-coming young guy. He's 10-1. Dos Santos is 21-7, coming off of 2 TKO losses. So it's tough. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm leaning towards Dos Santos for this one, but I definitely admit that Rosenstrike could get it done in a single punch. If he just lands, it could be lights out. And it's going to be a super exciting one. A couple big boys going at it. I would bet the under on that one, but I'm not sure what it is. I think it's probably only 1.5 rounds, so that's cutting it kind of close, but it probably will be under 1.5 rounds. But I wouldn't bet that for sure. I would probably, if I was making a pick Dos Santos. So moving on to the co-main event, that is between Sugar Sean O'Malley, coming in undefeated at 12-0 at bantamweight, versus Marlon Chito Vera, who himself is 15-6-1, one draw. And Sugar Sean O'Malley is coming off of a KO victory over Eddie Wineland. Before that, he had a TKO victory over Jose Alberto Quinones. And Marlo Chito Vera himself is coming off of 2 fights ago. He had a TKO victory over Andre Ewell. He looked dominant in that fight. When I rewatched that fight, I was like, wow, Chito Vera is going to have the edge, or Chito Vera is at the very least the toughest opponent that Sugar Sean has ever faced. And this is going to be the biggest competition, the biggest test of his hype, and we'll see what level of striking Sugar Sean is able to do on a level of opponent of Chito Vera. But after the Andre Ewell fight, he fought Song Yadong, and it was a fight of the night, but he ended up losing. Chito Vera lost that in a unanimous decision. So he's got Marlon Vera's got a couple unanimous decision losses, but several impressive wins by TKOs and submissions. This fight was actually scheduled for July of 2019, but O'Malley failed a test for Ostarine, which was something he had failed for previously, and got a suspension. I think he was suspended another 6 months, and it was because it was still in his system, or pulsing, or whatever they say. But because of Ostarine, this fight had to be postponed. O'Malley got his start on the 2017 Dana White Contender Series with a KO victory, and just looked really sharp from there. He's been undefeated since then, with a pair of unanimous decision victories for the TKO over Quinones and the KO over Wineland. So his striking just looks really varied, really impressive, really fun to watch. O'Malley has 2 performances of the night and 1 fight of the night already. So someone early into their career, he's definitely getting a big test in Chito Vera. Chito Vera is explosive. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can take it to the ground, and he's really good everywhere. He's very well-rounded. Sugar Sean is more of a striker, and he lets his hands down sometimes. He gets a little bit too comfortable, so we'll see if he's able to handle the pressure of Chito Vera. I'm still on the hype train. Personally, I got to personally go with Sugar Sean in this one, but it'll be an exciting fight at bantamweight, and either one of these guys will get a big matchup after this. Who knows who Sugar Sean would get if he, let's say, gets a KO victory. It's just off to the races for him. He's been calling out Cody Garbrandt a lot, who's himself moving down to flyweight against Figueiredo. So who knows, we'll see that anytime soon. But Sugar Sean's an exciting fighter for sure, and that's why they have him co-maining this one. And they're kind of lighter weight guys right before, or sandwiched in between 2 heavyweight fights. So that'll be exciting to see, a little change of pace. But moving on, we got our main event. We got the 2 legends, Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier. Stipe is 19-3. His only losses are against Cormier, the one time against Dos Santos, and one time against Stefan Struve. And Cormier himself is only 2 losses and 1 no contest. The 2 losses being against Stipe Miocic and John Jones, and then 1 no contest loss against John Jones where he technically got head kicked, KO'd, finished, but because of testing positive for steroids, they ruled that fight a no contest instead of a loss for Cormier. So when you've only lost to John Jones, the light heavyweight champ for forever, and Stipe Miocic, the guy who's defended the heavyweight championship with more defenses consecutively than any other heavyweight champ ever, you've only lost against the very top 2 fighters at the very top 2 weight classes of the UFC's history. So in any recent history, Cormier has fought the absolute toughest guys. He was at one time the double champ at light heavyweight and heavyweight. He had defended his belt at light heavyweight after he upset Stipe in their first fight. I'm not sure if it was an upset going in, but he shocked the world with the KO victory. After he shocked the world, he defended his belt at a heavyweight against Derek Lewis. Looked really good as the smaller man against Lewis. Was able to just handle him with wrestling, take him down at will. Got him into a rear naked submission and finished Derek Lewis in that one. So Cormier had wanted to defend the light heavyweight and the heavyweight belt, which he had done successfully. He vacated the light heavyweight title as he knew he wasn't going to cut the weight and defend it anymore. And that was right around the time John Jones came back to light heavyweight. And Cormier has since, after he beat Derek Lewis, then he got the rematch against Miocic. It took some time. It was about a year after their first fight. They got the rematch, and in that fight, it went a little bit longer. They traded back and forth. Cormier got a takedown with some chain wrestling in the first round. It looked like he would be able to do that more than once, but the rest of the fight he just stayed on the feet against Stipe. They traded back and forth. As it went into the 3rd and 4th round, Stipe started throwing some body shots. Those really hurt Daniel Cormier. He got more tired. He was less able to defend himself. And then he ended up getting finished with a TKO victory. Stipe just finished him with a flurry after landing a good right hand. So in this fight, I definitely see both fighters have huge pedigrees. They have amazing records. They've fought the who's who. They've beat big names. They beat Derek Lewis. They beat Francis Ngannou. So these are definitely the very top 2 heavyweights we have right now. And it'll be Cormier's last fight, he said. And who knows how many Stipe has left in him. But Stipe is the 2-time and current UFC champ with 3 Fight of the Nights and 5 Performance of the Nights. Like I said, he has the most consecutive heavyweight defenses. And he's beat Dos Santos. He got his rematch against Dos Santos and beat him. And he beat Ngannou. And he beat Alistair Overeem by KO as well. So Stipe is a tough customer. He's accurate. He's durable. On the feet, I would definitely say the advantage is for Stipe. And on the ground, and wrestling in general, the obvious advantage is to the 2-time Olympian, Daniel Cormier, DC. And he said, previous to this fight, put on your wrestling shoes, Stipe. And they've mentioned that this is going to be in the smaller UFC cage. So it's all stacked up for DC to exhibit more wrestling. I do think Stipe has pretty good wrestling defense, takedown defense. He's going to have to put it on display this Saturday. If he can keep it on the feet, he can really damage Cormier. If he can get into exchanges where there's just trading on the feet, he has the bigger reach. He's the taller man. He can take a couple shots to deliver the really accurate shots right on the chin. So Stipe has the edge in my book, although if it's a wrestling match, I totally understand Daniel Cormier is going to run away with it and ride off into the sunset as the greatest heavyweight to ever do it. So it's a great storyline for him. I hope he can accomplish that. But it's going to be a great fight. It's a super fight. When this fight was originally billed, it was one guy moving up a weight class to fight the champion. So this is two champs going at it. A legendary fight, the best one of our era, the heaviest weight class, two top contenders. They've beat everyone else. They've cleared out the division. So it's just between these two guys, and we're going to get to see once and for all. They've each won one fight between the two, and this is their final third and deciding one. This Saturday, we'll get to see it. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. Don't miss it. Kyle's Fight Picks. Alright, for Kyle's Fight Picks, we're going to quickly go through the card. Just going through each of them one by one. I have Magomed Ankalaev winning straight up in the opening fight. I have Dodson and Dvalishvili, that fight going to decision, so the over 2.5 rounds is my bet on that one. Between Chigano, Junior Dos Santos, and Jairzinho Rosenstrike, I'm actually favoring Junior Dos Santos. I think he's going to get it done on the feet and avoid the KO. And in the bantamweight fight, my pick is still with the hype train with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Get it done in some flashy victory. And in the heavyweight championship bout, I have Stipe Miocic getting it done through TKO, taking it into the later rounds. So those are my fight picks. Ankalaev, Dodson, Dvalishvili by decision, Dos Santos, O'Malley, and Miocic. All right, thanks. I'd like to thank you all for listening today. I'm looking forward to this upcoming fight, Saturday, August 15th, back in the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, so you never miss an episode. Until next time, peace.